think it is time to get started. We have a very packed agenda for today's meeting, so let's start, and we'll let people trickle in when they can. So welcome everyone. It's really exciting to be here today. We had over 300 people registering for this session, so we're hoping that more will be able to join us later today. I know that there's really early mornings for some of you and very late nights for others. And wherever you are, in whichever time zone you are in, we're very appreciative that you have decided to join us here today. We really know why, like the interest, there must be a very strong interest for this topic with having so many registered participants here today. But before I introduce myself and the agenda and the topics of today's consultations, let me again remind you that we have translations in English, Spanish, and French. And please go down to this again to the I think little dot that says more and pick the language that you are most comfortable in there. And also I should take this opportunity to remind myself and all of you to speak slowly so that we'll have time to translate accordingly. So let us all remind each other when we start speaking too fast. So thank you for that. I also wanted to remind everyone that this session is being recorded and will be posted on our website later. So with that, maybe I should go into introducing myself and this session. So my name is Gabriella Richardson-Tam. I'm the interim head of a partnership division at GEF Secretariat. And I have the great pleasure today to guide us all through this consultations, and I'm super excited. We have already many partners joining us, and also that has offered to participate in the conversations. We have members from our CSO network. We have partners from our small grants program, partners from our cities program. We have council members, agencies, and many more. So this is very exciting for us to have this meeting here with all of you today. Just for a little bit of background, we actually have a long tradition of organizing these CSO consultations and the beginning of the GEF Council meeting, and the same this time around. Our council meeting will be starting on Monday next week. And in fact, we have organized together with the CSO network, with our small grants partners, and with our Indigenous Peoples Advisory Group, and other civil society partners, these kind of consultations since I think it's 2018. So this is, I think, the 9th topic that we are having a deep dive on. So this is really exciting to continue this tradition moving forward. So let me, and I will try to be as quick as I can, so I will allow everyone else to speak. So let me just go over to the objectives and agenda of today's session. Yes, thank you. So just to remind everyone, the title of this consultations. Today, we are really going to focus on the role of civil society in building sustainable, resilient, and inclusive cities. We have organized the consultations in a way that we will really focus on highlighting the importance of civil society organizations, women, youth, and indigenous peoples actors for sustainable urban transformation and delivering environmental benefits. We will focus a lot on sharing good practices of civil society, supporting inclusive and sustainable and resilient cities, both in terms of policy influence, behavioral change, but also local solutions and innovations. We're hoping to end by distilling lessons learned that can inform the GEF's programming in the urban space moving forward, and really looking at good practices to strengthen stakeholder and civil society engagement in our cities program moving forward. So that's many objectives for 2 short hours, but we'll try to get there. So you can go to the next slide. Thank you. So just to give you a quick overview, and I'm sure that you all have already received the concept note and the agenda as part of the invitation, but just to give you a little bit of a brief overview of what we're doing here today. We will have some opening remarks from the GEF Secretariat, and from the Deputy Secretary from ICLAI will come in and give his perspectives. Then we will have two moderated panel discussions, one on civil society organizations' role in sustainable urban transformation, and the second one on good practices and of civil society engaging with communities and city governments. Then we will have some additional reflections from GEF partners, from WRI, and from our small grants program and UNDP. Then we will try to again do some concluding reflections hearing from our CSO network as well as the Secretariat to see what kind of lessons that we have been able to distill from the conversations. We are also very happy to end with closing remarks from our council member from Senegal. And that is also very active in the city's work. So with that, that is a broad overview of the agenda. And with that, I have the pleasure to introducing Claude Gascon, who is the Director of Strategy and Operations here at the GEF Secretariat, to give some opening remarks and highlighting what we are doing in our cities program and our ambitions moving forward. So hoping that you are able to join, and Claude, I saw you before, and hoping that you are still here. And
Thank
you
you,
are,
Gabriella.
because I was looking for you. That's why I was, but there you are.
I haven't abandoned ship yet.
Okay,
I'm still here.
you.
Thank you very much.
Good.
And good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to everybody. As Gabriella said, my name is Claude Gascon. I'm the Director of Strategy and Operations here at the GEF, and it's really a pleasure to join this important consultation meeting with civil society to really highlight the very important role that CSOs play in making our cities sustainable, resilient, and inclusive. As you know, the GEF is a family of funds dedicated to confronting biodiversity loss, climate change, pollution, and degradation of land and ocean health. We have a long history of promoting inclusion and stakeholder engagement in our operations and through our projects and programs. And more importantly, over the last few years, the GEF has enhanced its ambition and efforts in this direction of inclusion. To give you a little bit of an idea of what we've done, we've updated our policy requirements to ensure engagement with civil society actors in the development and implementation of GEF programs and projects. We've also supported opportunities to connect governments, civil society, and the private sector partners at the national and regional levels through our country engagement strategy that facilitates learning and knowledge sharing events. We've also strengthened society engagement in the GEF Council, in the Assembly, and other relevant events through both the CSO network and the broader engagement with other civil society actors and networks. And finally, we've expanded the scale and scope of the GEF Small Grants Program, which is a dedicated corporate program of the GEF to provide grants and technical support to local civil society organizations and community-based organizations worldwide. We firmly believe that civil society organizations, indigenous peoples, women, and youth groups are playing critical roles in delivering results that are relevant for the GEF. Countries are more than governments, and now more than ever, we are convinced that environmental change cannot happen if the GEF continues to work exclusively with governments. We're determined to expand our efforts to support civil society and invest in the new generation of environmental, political, and economic leaders. The latest GEF 8 strategy embodies this thinking. It sets out to facilitate meaningful partnerships between governments and different segments of civil society. We have embraced a whole of society approach that reflects the importance of expanding engagement with civil society, indigenous peoples, women, and youth in the delivery of global environmental benefits. It highlights the centrality of local innovation and civil society actions and coalitions in addressing environmental challenges and meeting global sustainability and climate goals. Today's world is very different from when the GEF was established in 1992. Today, some 56% of the world's population live in cities, and by 2050, it's expected that nearly 7 out of 10 people will live in cities. Therefore, not surprising that cities are key to achieving global environmental goals. They're responsible for 70% of greenhouse gas emissions. They're major drivers of loss of nature and host the majority of the global population that is vulnerable to climate risks. Recognizing that cities are key to achieving our goals, we have placed a strong focus on supporting sustainable urban development in the last couple of GEF replenishments. Through our dedicated Sustainable Cities program, we have provided more than $300 million in grants to support 50 cities in 17 countries in order for them to adopt integrated, innovative, and inclusive sustainability solutions for people and the environment. Later this year, we will further expand the program in GEF 8, covering additional cities and countries. Its global platform is a strong partnership of multiple stakeholders, which includes civil society actors, of course. We are supporting urban resilience through our dedicated adaptation fund as well, namely the Least Developed Countries Fund and the Special Climate Change Fund, as our adaptation projects focus on solutions to address vulnerability of communities and partners in many projects. And finally, through our small grants program, we are catalyzing innovative local solutions through civil society organizations. The local and people-centric aspects of cities make the role of civil society organization central. Most importantly, they ensure that our program outcomes support vulnerable people and engaged citizens, be it in enhancing uptake of public transport by women and disabled people, creating open green spaces for citizens, restoring degraded and polluted lands, or cleaning up urban beaches. CSOs are doing transformative work in cities globally. I'm glad that several of our CSO partners, including the CSO network, are in this meeting, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing about your experiences and innovations in cities. We are committed to adopt a whole of society approach in our work in cities. My hope is that this consultation will create a space for sharing and discussing good practices and to generate ideas on enhancing the role of civil society in decision-making in cities and strengthening engagement of civil society actors in the GEF urban investments moving forward. Thank you very much, and I hand back the space to Gabriela.
Thank you so much, Claude, and thank you for really highlighting what we are doing, supporting sustainable cities and our engagement with different partners, and also the ambitions moving forward. So thank you so much, Claude. And now I'm very excited to hand over to Imani Kumar, who is the Deputy Secretary of ICLEI. ICLEI is a global network with many local and regional governments committed to sustainable urban development. So with that quick introduction, Imani, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriela, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and yeah, I shouldn't say good night, but it's nighttime also to some of the participants here. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on the role of CSOs in building sustainable, resilient, inclusive cities. As Gabriela said, that I represent an organization called ICLEI, ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability. We are one of the oldest civil society organization, or the cities network in the world. Precisely 33 years old organization, working very closely with the civil society organizations to achieve the sustainable development goals or sustainability within the city's government on that. And I'm glad that GEF has started, and thanks, Claudia, Director, for the work what you are doing, and telling that how GEF is supporting the city's work. And I'm also part of the leading electrically in the Asia Pacific region on the urban shift program under the GEF 7 city. Just want to make one statement very clear. I think Director has clearly said that without the civil society's involvement, I don't think any government, it can be national or a subnational or a local government, can achieve sustainability if they want to do that thing actually. So the importance of the civil societies is very much there. And always, like I'm in this field for the last 30 odd years. And I clearly tell to the national governments when I meet them, boss, that if you want to implement actions, you can't do it at the national level. You need to come to the local governments, as I will say that. But I will also tell at the same length and same wavelength, if the local governments want to implement any activities, you need to go to the civil society organization. So the importance, what I'm saying, that from the national to the subnational, the cities, you need to have the civil society organizations to take it forward on that. So that's the importance what I'm talking about for the civil societies. Recently, when I was there in COP, I was actually also talking on one of the panel on the Climate Adaptation Fund. And after I said that, after I said the similar thing, that the civil society organization needs to be empowered to implement the climate action, I was overwhelmed by the response I got from the audience from there. Almost all of the audience, more than 100 odd people sitting in front of me, they're saying that this is what we want to learn, what we want to tell to the national governments, that the importance of civil societies in implementing the sustainability activities. The other point I just want to add is people are now talking about locally led adaptation. How can you do the locally led adaptation unless until you bring the civil society organizations to implement, to address the resilience, to address the climate change issues on that? So at every step, at every stage, we have to bring the civil societies, and I'm glad that this particular discussion is happening today to look into the some of the best practices happening around the world on that. I just want to add few best practices what we have followed and in taking it forward, the involvement of the civil societies. ICLEI actively works and supports the local NGOs, local CSOs, and local communities, along with the local governments, by providing them the strategic planning or the knowledge materials or the training or peer learning opportunities and supportive policy and advocacy of the work. We do these throughout the world, actually, as we are spread all over the world, and we work with more than 2,500 cities. And also we talk about more on along with the civil society organizations on that. The other thing, we also do a lot of work on the biodiversity thing. GEF is supporting also on this, more on the preparation of a local biodiversity action plans or preparation of the city biodiversity indexes. We bring the civil society organizations to help because they have the knowledge, not that local governments are not the officers who are working there on that. So that's where we bring and we take it forward on that. Another project, maybe another example I just want to give is also on the waste management plans, like in the city governments. So if you talk about, like, which GEF is also supporting a lot of these activities. If you want to implement the waste management activity on ground, you need to bring together the communities. You need to bring together the civil society for awareness activities, for implementation at a ward level. We need to bring these cities on that. And I have a lot of other examples. I know that I don't have that much money, but we also hear other examples from that. But one standalone one, which comes also from my country, where I'm coming from, India. We recently started a platform called RU-Urban Platform, the Rural Urban Platform, bringing together all the civil society organizations along with the government officials, so that when you plan water supply, when you plan transport, anything. You can bring this platform, use it, and I'm glad to tell you that the government of India also using this similar similar platforms in one of the largest program on the riverfront, that is the river Ganges. It's called a program called Namami Gange, which they are using on that. So there are so many examples. I'm happy that we are discussing on this particular point. And in closing, I will say that CSO's expertise, the research, and the perspectives are very important in influencing the decision making and to prioritize the sustainable and climate resilient urban development on that. Thank you. Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Imane. I could see on you that you could have gone on for a very long time to tell us even more about all your perspectives and the work that you're doing. And I'm sorry that we have such a short time to let you speak here. But thank you so much. You really highlighted a lot of good practices and what you're doing. And in fact, that's exactly what we're going to continue doing now. We're going to hear from some of our other partners and what they're doing. And what the role of civil society is in city planning and in the urban space. So thank you again, Imane, for joining us here. So with that, in order to try to keep us on the time, I will hand over to, or actually will push us over to the first session at this consultations. So this session, and here we have our moderator, Charles Dixon, that will moderate the session. So I hope I can see Charles coming up on the screen.
Here I am.
There you are. Good. Now I can see you. Double checking. So I will not go into highlighting what we're going to do, but really in this session, we are going to listen and hear perspectives on the different roles of civil society in urban transformation and in delivering environmental benefits. And Charles Dixon has lined up a very interesting and great panels of our different partners around the globe. And Charles is working with the Secretariat, really supporting our work on the Small Grants Program, which he has a long history working in Costa Rica and leading the Small Grants Program there in the past. So over to you, Charles,
Thank you so much.
the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. And if you're listening in your pajamas, good night. I am Charles Dixon, and I'll be moderating this first session on how civil society organizations are taking innovative steps to improve their urban environment. So as we've seen, we've got 4 wonderful speakers from all corners of the globe, who we will be talking to in a bit. But by way of a quick introduction, we have from Sierra Leone, Tommy Garnett. From the Solomon Islands, we have Lorenza Cordero. Desde Costa Rica, Maribel Gomez. And from Nepal, Ram Charitra Sa. I hope I pronounced your name right. Well, by way of an introduction, pretty much my whole professional life, I've worked at the community and local level, and almost exclusively in rural areas. And in fact, this has really shaped my own perception of what we mean by community and civil society engagement. In fact, perhaps like many of you, I was also raised in a village in the countryside. So that's my background, and maybe your parents, if you weren't from a rural area, maybe your parents were, and perhaps almost certainly your grandparents were from rural areas. Now, as many of us move into the cities and our world becomes more urbanized, I think our ideas about community are evolving. So in the rural world, when we relate to one another and how we act is often shaped by proximity, family, village culture, local leadership, access to land and resources, and our own connection to nature. As we move into this brave new urban world and in this vast mixing bag of humanity, these relationships become much more complicated. And we lose that safety net of familiarity and family. Our connection to nature becomes ever more distant. And of course, social, economic, and environmental problems just become more amplified and intensified. So, to reflect on this ever-evolving urban-human relationship and perhaps to show us what we can do and how we can do it, we're now going to hear from our 4 incredible experiences from the front line of local action in urban environments. After that, we'll open up to a short questions and answers session if we have time. And so I'll ask our speakers to hang around once they've made their interventions. And for you listening, please feel free to include your questions or comments in the chat box. And now I'll move on to our first speaker. Tommy, if you can get ready. This is from Sierra Leone, is Tommy Garnett. Tommy, just a quick introduction. Tommy has a background in agricultural and development economics. He's worked as a high school teacher in Kenya, where he taught agriculture, maths, and physical education. And that's where he developed this keen interest in conservation issues. His work since then has mostly been in West Africa, working for NGOs, founding NGOs. And in fact, he established the Environmental Foundation for Africa, for which he is now its executive director in Sierra Leone. Tommy is also a father of 4 children and a keen practitioner and promoter of yoga as a valuable tool in these stressful and challenging times. So, Tommy, breathe in, breathe out, and please tell us about your current work and in particular, why and how you are engaging civil society in urban transformation and what you have achieved so far. Tommy, please, over to you. Thank you so much. Are you with us, Tommy?
Well,
Tommy, we're not hearing you.
here. Let's see if Tommy is here.
Can we see Tommy?
Yeah, Tommy is on a call.
Hello?
Oh, there he
Yes.
is. There you
Tommy,
are.
thank you. Please, Tommy, go
I
ahead.
thought someone needed to unmute me. Thank you for that. Welcome, and I appreciate this opportunity. I know time is very short, so I will dive right in. First of all, I grew up in nature, with nature, surrounded by it from within and without. And in a country that's so wealthy with natural resources, it didn't take long for me to realize that we're headed in the wrong direction. So when I became an adult with children and thinking about the future, I saw the direction we were going. I realized my path moving forward would be to start something that involves with trying to repair what's being destroyed, as well as inspiring people to continue to protect the integrity of what remains. And that essentially underlines the work that I've been doing in the CSO world for the last 30 plus years. In terms of today's preparation, we have a couple of minutes. My focus is to talk about the Freetown, one of the sustainable cities initiatives that we've been implementing around Freetown. I don't know if you can share the slides, or do I share mine? Hello?
The slide is up. We have them all here. No problem.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
We are sharing.
So the first slide basically gives you title Building Frontline Institutions for Creating Sustainable Cities. Is essentially the inspiration behind everything. This is what it looked like before we started to imprint our footsteps. And 10, 15 years down the line, every picture I'm showing you here is not older than 20 years. This is a view of Freetown City at the beginning. And then by 2009, we see that the growing population in the city, which is being unplanned, basically, is really affecting the water catchment areas, destroying the forest. By 2013, population pressure pushes the forest back, attacks all the water catchments in that area, and before you know it, the water catchments are dry. And then the slide in 2018, the same site, you can see the difference over a 13-year period. It has changed from dark green to brown, with the green already showing signs of brown. That is what inspired the Freetown, the Tree Town campaign, which was initiated in 2020 at the start of the COVID pandemic. The intention was to plant and grow 550,000 trees, shrubs, and grasses, you know, to sort of help restore the canopy of the city. Basically applying the, you know, nature-based solutions towards addressing what was already presenting itself as a huge climate risk, so that we can restore natural spaces, watersheds, mangroves, urban forests, natural areas, and steep slopes. Those of you who have been following the news around Freetown, you would have heard that in 2017, we had a major mudslide which killed over 1,000 people and destroyed property and housing worth God knows how much. However, this project was also supposed to provide opportunities for communities living in these hazardous areas to develop a caring approach towards taking care of their own environment and providing opportunities for local suppliers of trees, for local community people to plant and grow these trees and receive some benefits through monthly allowances for their efforts to grow the trees. Also, we applied a new approach, which is tracking and mapping to tell us how well the trees are doing, which is the basis for providing the incentives to the community tree growers. And through this, we have managed in 3 years to establish an urban forestry strategy, an action that strengthens the city council's capacity to support and manage the forestry sector in the Western area. So essentially, the main benefits of the Freetown Tree Town project are to the entire city's population of 1.8 million, 230 jobs created, including 122 community tree stewards, 23 nursery suppliers engaged to provide seedlings, 12 community-based organizations engaged to supervise operations at community level, local community leaders engaged to support for public awareness, sensitization, and monitoring. So basically, you can see it's a holistic approach, getting everyone involved, from the mayor, the ministers, to community people, to business people. Now, we were fortunate to be listed as one of the 23 winners of the GEF Inclusive Award. And that grant, when it comes, will help in 3 main ways: to capacitate the communities living in the vulnerable areas around the Western area, in areas prone to erosion, flooding, and landslides, to conduct replacement planting of indigenous trees on degraded slopes. Mind you, we planted 550,000 trees, but that's just a drop in how much trees need to be planted. We will continue to need to plant trees into the future. And also to develop a digital platform that will help to track and monitor these plantations, and most importantly, to consolidate and replicate the lessons we've learned from implementing this comprehensive, successful community-based planting and growing stewardship model to others that might benefit from it. In a nutshell, with the time I have, this is what I have to show you. I think at the final slide shows you photographs of some of the work going on with some of the people involved with that. I'll stop there for now.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Thank you so much. And we can see from the pictures that green, that brown hopefully becoming green and reverting that problem. Thank you so much. So we're going to our next speaker, Lorenzo, who's joining us very late from the Solomon Islands. Lorenza, hi. Lorenza is a project manager in the NACAO program. She's been working for 19 years in forest conservation, both in Brazil and internationally. And over the last 6 years, she's been working in the Solomon Islands, and she's going to tell us all about her wonderful experience. Welcome, Lorenza. Hopefully you're there with us now. Can you switch on your camera?
Yes, it's on.
It's on. Perfect.
Should be.
Yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Charles. Thank you, everyone. So I don't know if the slide is already ready to go. Yes, thanks so much. Yes, so yep, my name is Lorenza. I'm from Brazil, but I'm working in the Solomon Islands. I'm working with NACAO. NACAO is an Australian organization, is a social purpose company. And we are partners with Solomon Water, that's the water agency here in the Solomon Islands, and Live and Learn Solomon Islands as an NGO. So we are implementing a project that has been financed by Asian Development Bank, ADB, and GEF, on which GEF is supporting the resilience strategy. So this project looks to enhance, let's say, the urban water supply and sanitation sector in the Solomon Islands. And one of the components is to develop a payment for system services for their water catchment. Yeah, and I'm working as a project manager to develop this specific component. So NACAO, as an organization, as a motivation, I'd say we catalyze projects, nature-based solution projects that engage people to protect and restore ecosystems. The idea for the approach of NACAO is to have a very participative process in these, to co-design the project. So we as Emani mentioned, and Charles mentioned too, we always intend to bring people together, that people that are local, like local NGOs, local CSOs, to develop, to co-design together. So in the Solomon Islands, this is very important. We have a context here. We are it is a small country, a small population, and it's a least developed country. So it's a country that struggles to have an infrastructure, especially in the water sector. The urban areas, they are small, only 26% of the countries in the urban areas, but mainly they are concentrated in Honiara, that's the capital, and they depend 40% on the water supply from 3 catchments that are highlighted here in this map. This catchment is very close to the city, only 30 minutes. Yeah, although it's very close, the population or the landowners of this area, they live, I'd say, in a transition from the rural to like a subsistence economy to cash economy. And this is valid for everything in the Solomon Islands, for land ownership systems and leadership systems. They are based in tribal decision-making systems, and they depend a lot from natural resource like logging or agriculture, things for their survival. And in this context, please can you pass to the next slide? In this context, NACAO tried to develop the project. So this is why we consider the project design, the assessment, situation analysis very important, where we can really understand the context and start to engage with stakeholders and co-design the projects together. So we are in this phase now. And based on this phase, then we go to the next steps, that's project development, project implementation. And as Emani mentioned before, this understanding of how the social context is, and for example, how the stakeholders can support, the local stakeholders can support implementation is extremely important. I highlighted here some challenges that we found in our project. Of course, there is other opportunities and many things, but now I'm focusing more in the challenge on which the CSOs we are starting to have a partnership with them dialoguing and doing consultations to engage them to solve or to help us to address some of those challenges. For instance, during the social assessment, we noticed many grievances or disputes between tribes and sub-tribes in benefit sharing that happened from the past, from the water pump station. So now this is coming again. This is all these grievances, those kind of a dispute is still there, and then you need to deal with this to be able to develop and implement the project. Land ownership claims for land or other rights, leadership disputes between chiefs from tribes and sub-tribes, and disagreements in how they should use and manage natural resources. Some members, they want to do logging because they depend on this economy, other members want to do conservation. So luckily, we met some very strategic CSOs to work with us. For example, the church that can help as peacemakers, also can help to promote environment conservation. Other CSOs that they work in the reconciliation process. Solomon Islands, during 2003, they passed through a civil tensions. So there are some organizations that work for reconciliation. We're planning to engage them in our project. And with that, we believe that this engagement will facilitate the dialogue between developers at the Solomon Water and the landowners to engage them in the project. We also believe that the CSOs can also help the developers, in the case Solomon Water, to understand more the traditional systems, leadership, and customary rights. Those organizations also can support to oversee the rights from customary landowners in terms of their natural resource rights and their benefit sharing rights, transparency, and promote those objectives from the projects. And just to conclude with this,
yes, go ahead, yes.
Yeah, reduce risk and conflicts. Yeah, so that's our experience. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you so much, Lorenzo. I'm sorry to cut you off. It's just we have to try and stick to our agenda.
That's okay, no worries.
And thank you so much for sharing that experience from a very different place, Solomon Islands, place hopefully one day we'll get to visit. So thank you, Lorenzo.
Yeah.
Okay. Voy a cambiar a español. I'm going to change to Spanish now. So if you want to get your Spanish interpreter ready. Ahora tenemos a Maribel Gómez de Costa Rica. Maribel es miembro de la Asociación Comunitaria de la Guapil, en Alajuelita, San José, Costa Rica. Maribel es madre de 3 hijos, abuela de 5 nietos, es modista de profesión y trabajadora independiente. Es una mujer emprendedora y lideresa comunitaria. Maribel, por favor, adelante con tu iniciativa. Cuéntanos sobre tu motivación y tus logros. Voy a tener que insistir que seamos breves, por favor. Disculpa de antemano. Pero adelante, Maribel. Muchas gracias si estás por acá, Maribel.
Muchas gracias a usted. Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, según su país. Así que, muchas gracias por este espacio, la verdad. Yo soy Maribel Gómez Retana, de la Asociación de Desarrollo La Guapil. Tenemos casi 4 años ya de trabajar con este proyecto. Este proyecto para mí es es como un sueño. Yo siempre lo he dicho y no me canso de decirlo, es como un sueño. Cuando el PNUD llega a nuestra comunidad, yo como que no creí mucho porque anteriormente mucha gente había llegado a hacernos promesas y resulta que cuando ellos llegan yo como que no creí mucho. Llega doña Miriam con un equipo de ángeles que yo desconocía porque toda la gente que rodea a doña Miriam son puros ángeles, son gente maravillosa, gente entregada, gente que la parte que ellos dan de amor, eso no lo paga el dinero. y eso lo tengo muy claro. Así que la gente que rodea a doña Miriam del PNUD son ángeles. Cuando ellos llegan aquí a la comunidad de la Guapil, nosotros tenemos un terreno que está casi que en abandono. Hemos sacado toneladas de basura del lugar. Era un lugar increíblemente feo, sucio, también de riesgo, de un gran riesgo, porque se prestaba para también delinquir, porque el lugar era tan abandonado que también se prestaba para delinquir. Era un lugar peligroso para los niños, en especial un espacio tan grande que ahora es tan hermoso y da tantos frutos, la verdad. Y no era utilizado. Cuando ellos llegan ahí a la comunidad, ellos empiezan, primero que nada, empiezan por sacar gran cantidad de basura. Un lugar en el cual ya yo venía trabajando, pero jamás uno por voluntad no puede hacer las cosas. Se necesita mucho dinero, se necesita disposición, se necesita amor para poder trabajar un espacio así. Cuando doña Miriam llega con el equipo de ella me demuestra a mí que eso sí se puede hacer, que sí se puede hacer muchísimo más de lo que ya yo venía haciendo, porque yo tengo muchos años de ser líder comunal, pero no basta con una disposición, tiene que uno que tener los medios también para hacerlo. El lugar ha sido totalmente cambiado, ya tenemos senderos, tenemos juegos, tenemos muchos árboles, tenemos matas, tenemos huerta. Tenemos un lugar en el cual trabajamos compostaje, tenemos hasta un estañón para residuos. El lugar ha cambiado tanto, yo me siento tan orgullosa, me siento tan feliz. Yo no me siento orgullosa de mí, yo me siento orgullosa del PNUD, yo me siento orgullosa de toda la gente que ha llegado a trabajar ahí, que ellos en realidad, ellos ni siquiera van a disfrutar de ese lugar, cuesta mucho que ellos lo vayan a llegar a hacer. Y sin embargo, se han entregado al 100% al lugar y lo han hecho con amor. Así que yo les agradezco demasiado y yo pienso que todo el trabajo que todos hacen es maravilloso, es maravilloso. Un trabajo digno de copiarse. Uno siempre dice que uno tiene que ser original. Hay cosas que sí se deben de copiar y yo pienso que el trabajo que viene haciendo el PNUD es un trabajo que sí merece ser imitado, merece ser copiado, porque esto no es por uno, es por los demás. Se necesita amor por la comunidad, se necesita amor por el prójimo y es lo que se viene haciendo. Yo trabajo con muchos niños, mi comunidad está involucrada, pero a mí me interesan muchísimo los niños, que son el futuro del mañana. Entonces, si ustedes ven en las fotos, siempre hay niños y es sumamente importante. Hay gente que lo ve como que no es necesario, que los niños no pueden. Claro que sí, los niños pueden. Los niños son el futuro del país y ellos tienen que ir aprendiendo. Y vieran que hay una cosa muy importante. Yo pienso que la ciudad más limpia no es la que más se limpia, sino que es la que menos se ensucia. Necesitamos hacer a la gente entender, educarlos a reciclar, a hacer compostaje, no sé, a hacer cosas diferentes a las que uno está acostumbrado, que nada más llega y tira una bolsa de basura y tira a que el carro pase. No, no funciona así. Debemos hacer algo con todo, con los residuos de las casas y todo, debemos seguirlo haciendo así. Así que el espacio de la Guapil, espero que en el nombre de Jesús sea para ustedes un ejemplo y el PNUD siga para adelante, que siga cada día con más deseos de seguir trabajando, con más amor, y todos los ángeles que trabajan con doña Miriam, que cada día se levanten todos enérgicos y llenos de alegría y todo, para que sigan dando lo mejor de ellos. Así que muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Maribel, y pura vida, muchas gracias y por tu intervención. Excelente ejemplo y me encanta ver los niños también. Siempre me encanta ver los niños metidos sembrando, porque eso es lo que yo hago también. Entonces,
Claro que sí.
muchas gracias.
A
Okay,
usted.
vamos, let's go now to our next speaker, Ram. Sorry, I'm going to have to try and keep you short. We have another 8 minutes or so, and we might have a couple of questions at the end. So, Ram Cheritrasa, since 2004, is the Executive Director and Environment Scientist at the Center for Public Health and Environmental Development in Nepal. He's a long-time SGP grantee on like POPs and chemicals. And Ram has written over 50 technical papers in over 50 countries. And his research is based on policy advocacy, leadership, from banning asbestos to lead paint standards to banning use of mercury-based equipment, and banning dozens of pesticides. So Ram, please go ahead, and I'm sorry again, try and keep it short if you can. I know you've got lots to tell us. So
I will try to. Yes. Thank you for GEF Secretariat and GEF SGP Nepal for giving me this opportunity to share some of our successful story behind making mercury-free healthcare service and mercury-free dentistry. Next. So this is just my short introduction, like CFAD is already told by moderator, sir. So our goal is to bridging people with science and technology for healthy living and environmental. And we have been doing 5 kind of things: research, publication, dissemination, policy advocacy, and feedback, model demonstration. And the things I'm going to say is a extended version of our model city to mercury-free nation. Go next. So why, as a civil society organization and personally myself has been engaged with this, we have a long legacy of working with the chemical issue personally as well as professionally. Having an environmental science and forestry background, I intend to do always environmental conservation work, and it is important because the known source of toxic mercury pollution from dumping of healthcare waste, including mercury from a Bharatpur medical city to the Narayani River, following through a biodiversity-rich World Heritage Site, Chittor National Park, home to several endangered flora and fauna. There is a high demand from the community, especially the healthcare sector, to develop environmental sound management, healthcare waste management system. And we include also the mercury-free medical city development as a functional model under the GEF supported program in beginning, and later on also supported by WHO World Alliance for Mercury-Free Dentistry as well as Government of Nepal and IPEN. According to our MAI report, health sector contribute 2,590 kg of mercury, which is 30.2% of total mercury released from all sector in Nepal. So it was almost huge coming from the health sector, which we able to eliminate through successful implementation of our initiative. Next. So I have many story to be told, but I will be just concentrating on only 2 story. And if anybody interested, there is a link of our video who can also, I will share it after this, my presentation. So this is the first picture. I had got the chance to do the biomonitoring of mercury among the dental professional. So, and by that time, our health secretary was dental doctor, and I took the privilege to take his sample to demonstrate how much mercury contamination in his body. And among the 50 dental doctors, his reading was 3rd highest. And I gave him back the result, and he took the decision of mercury-free healthcare service by banning all the import, sale, distribution, and use of mercury containing equipment. But by that time, mercury dental amalgam was not in that decision. So we again strive our will, and then starting working with the Nepal Dental Association, starting working with the dental clinic and hospitals, and inviting number of multiple stakeholders, right from government to professional association, academic and academic institution, development agency like UNDP, GEF supported. WHO came in board, Warm Fed World Alliance Mercury Free Dentistry, and IPN also supported and joined hands to make mercury free Nepal and health sector, dental sector of Nepal mercury free. Even we work with media partners, community, student, even waste workers, NGO and media. So these are the few, even if you realize there was a representative from international community representing World Alliance for Mercury Free Dentistry in our initiative, who have traveled far and wide to help us in this initiative. And in the home country, we have on board Nepal Dental Association. GEF was always there. WHO was also supporting in this endeavor. Next. And what is the result we receive? We able to influence much, and then local level adoption, professional level adoption. So NDA came forward, Nepal Dental Association, and made the decision not to use mercury in the dentistry. Later on, a government of Nepal also took the policy decision to go for mercury-free health service by replacing all the mercury-based equipment from the health sector. And as the in 2013 and by the 2019, Ministry of Health and Population, Government of Nepal also took another progressive decision of making mercury-free dentistry by taking the decision. And these two national level decision and as well as association level decision and adoption of mercury-free healthcare service and mercury-free dentistry serve as an example at the different regional forum, regional level, country level, and it is serving a lot, pressurize a lot to the neighboring country and other institution to go for the same. And at the same time, I'm very glad to share that this initiative, initiated by CFED, our organization, supported by GEF, IPN, WAMFED, WHO, has on mercury future policy, mercury-free dentistry policy of Nepal on the future policy award just last year, 2023, during the ICCM 5 from the World Future Council. And before that, we have also received first in Asia award for mercury-free dentistry initiative from World Alliance Mercury-Free Dentistry. And then back 1 year ahead into 2020, we also got the WWF Conservation Award to avoid mercury being discharged to a river that follows through biodiversity rich national park. So these are the achievement and recognition nationally, internationally, and regionally we able to. And just the last slide, next. So what happened after policy in place? We had got chance to do a compliance monitoring with the support of WHO 2023 and Ministry of Health and Population. And I'm very glad once again to share that in terms of mercury-free healthcare facilities policy, 93% of healthcare facilities are now no more using mercury-based thermometer. 100% of healthcare facility is no more using mercury-based sphygmomanometer. And over 3/4 of the healthcare facilities are known about this decision. Likewise, similar figure as we have also got about the mercury-free dentistry, like around 94% of dental healthcare facilities have already moved to the alternative and equal percentage of dental health care facilities are known about the mercury-free dentistry policy of the government. So I'm very much happy to share this, right from generating first-hand data up to the policy level influence, and then compliance is very high, not like the other policy in place and not getting implemented. But in this case, we are very much happy to see over 90% of the compliance. So this can be treated as a model and take home a message from my presentation is chemical safety, including mercury-free city and environmental sound management of healthcare waste, are considered to be important for the sustainable city and achieving multiple SDG. And we are very happy with the result we achieved through implementing UNDP GEF SGP supported program with leveraging the other resources from many likely minded organizations like WAMFED, WHO, and IPEN. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to share successful and very important initiative we able to deliver that brings a lot of national, international recognition to not only for our organization, but also to our country. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Ram. Thank you so much for that intervention. And thank you to all our speakers. We've heard an amazing range of experiences from water management in catchments to greening the brown. We've heard about policy advocacy, just to hear from Ram, and how really civil society action can make an impact on national policies. And from Maribel, of course, on talking about her very much the local level in her community there. So thank you all very much. We were going to have a question and answer session. I don't think we have time right now. We can maybe push that to the end. Anyway, in the chat, I haven't seen any particular questions. So I'd just like to thank all our speakers again for being with us and sharing their experiences. Again, apologies for cutting them short. And we can now move on to the next section. I think over to you briefly, Gabriela. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charles, Tommy, Lorenza, Maribel, and Ram for this great session. And I will also not try to summarize. I think it was super great. And just if there are questions to any of the speakers, please use the chat, and maybe the speakers can also respond on the chat. We really would like you to ask questions and learn more if you are interested in any of the different initiatives that you've heard of. So thank you. So let me not take any more time, but to push us forward to the next really exciting session. This session will be moderated by Ana de Pancarcio. She is the Deputy Director for the Fondation of Natural Resources, of Environment and Natural Resources. She is also an active member of the CBD Biodiversity, Women Biodiversity Caucus. We're very happy to have her here today to moderate this session, where we will hear more about local solutions and initiatives and innovations, really with civil society engaging communities, and together with city governments for a more sustainable city. So this is another really exciting panel. So over to you, Anna.
Thank you, Gabriela. Yes, here I am. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Ana de Pancarcio. Thanks to the GEF Secretariat for inviting me to moderate this session. I work at Fundación Ambiente y Recursos Naturales Farm. I'm based in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I'm a lawyer specialized in environmental law and policy, focusing on biodiversity. And happy World Wetlands Day, everyone, as well. Personally, my favorite ecosystems, and of course present in cities and key for healthy cities. And also they help us to better cope with heat waves like the one that Buenos Aires is currently undergoing. It is really very, very warm in here. Now, having said that, welcome to this second session that is titled Good Practices of Civil Society in Engaging with Communities and City Governments for Sustainable Solutions within this GEF consultation with civil society on building sustainable, resilient, and inclusive cities. First, I let interpreters know that just as Charles, I will be switching from English to Spanish when addressing our panelists from Paraguay and Mexico. Thank you for understanding. By 2050, nearly 70% of the world's population will reside in urban areas. The fast and unplanned expansion of cities around the world has created a variety of challenges that have a negative impact on both people and the environment, significantly contributing to the intensification of the global climate and biodiversity crisis. Social participation is crucial in the transformation process towards more inclusive, just, diverse, and sustainable cities. It allows to improve projects, create a sense of ownership, empower the population as citizens exercising their rights to strengthen social ties, respect, and tolerance, and promote solidarity. Cities have to include experiences of uses and perspectives of women, men, other diversities, the elderly, people with disabilities, minorities, many in vulnerable situations, and on a range of planning fields in cities like housing, public transport, territorial planning, biodiversity, and climate action, of course, among others. The global biodiversity frameworks, in particular, in which negotiations I follow closely, brings a renovated opportunity for enhancing biodiversity in cities with a human rights-based approach to ensure inclusive and biodiversity-sensitive urban planning. At this session, we will hear about what is happening on the ground and that we can build on, because civil society in all its diversity matters to urban transformation. We will hopefully have a segment for questions and answers, so please use the chat box to leave comments or questions on the shared experiences as our panelists intervene in this session, because we might have time to address them briefly before we close this second session. I will pose 3 questions to each of our panelists, each having 5 minutes. We are mindful that this is not enough time to share a comprehensive view of the work that you are doing, but we ask you to briefly share the highlights of your work on community-led solutions in cities, influencing behavioral change, policies, and investments. I will now speak in Spanish, dear interpreters. Thank you. En primer lugar, presento a Alcides Ramírez, miembro fundador y expresidente de la Asociación de Ciclistas Urbanos del Paraguay, ACUPI. Alcides es consultor en diversos proyectos sociales, tanto de la asociación como en forma independiente. Alcides, bienvenido y gracias. He visto que estabas online. Nos gustaría que respondas a estas 3 preguntas en un minuto muy breve. ¿De qué se trata tu iniciativa y qué te motivó a impulsarla? Particularmente, ¿cuál es ese valor diferencial que tiene un espacio de encuentro para ciclistas como es ACUPI para abogar por la transformación urbana? ¿Y cuál es el papel distintivo que tienen allí los jóvenes? Y para cerrar, ¿cuál es el principal desafío que te encontraste al inicio de esta iniciativa y cuál fue un factor clave que te permitió superarlo? Te diré cuando te quede un minuto para ir concluyendo por el chat, ¿sí? Gracias y adelante.
Okay, muchas gracias, Ana, y muy buenos días para todos y todas. Bueno, la Asociación de Ciclistas Urbanos del Paraguay es una asociación sin fines de lucro que trabajamos en la reivindicación de espacios públicos, especialmente para personas que utilizamos la bicicleta como medio de transporte urbano y también como medio recreativo. Entonces, dentro de lo que es el proyecto Asunción Ciudad Verde de las Américas, impulsado por por el PNUD en cooperación con organizaciones del sector público. Nosotros desde la organización de la sociedad civil apoyamos un componente muy importante que se llama Mabici, que impulsa una red de bicisenda para el área metropolitana de Asunción. Para un pequeño contexto, Asunción es capital de Paraguay, ¿verdad? Que tiene un área metropolitana interesante que no cuenta con una red de bicisenda. Entonces, este proyecto lo que hace es trabajar para interconectar las redes de bicisenda que existe y construir para que esto sea realmente viable y para que las personas que nos movilizamos en bicicleta y que utilizamos para medios recreativos tengamos una vía sobre todo accesible y seguro, ¿no? El valor del espacio público justamente lo que ayuda en este caso es para conectar a la red de ciudades que tenemos en Paraguay. Entonces, hoy en día, de repente nosotros en Paraguay tenemos muchísimos grupos urbanos de personas que se organizan en sus barrios, en sus comunidades, en sus distritos para movilizarse en bicicleta. Entonces, esta red lo que ayuda es para, en primer lugar, conectar con espacios públicos como ser plazas, en parques, con otros espacios que tenemos. Entonces, en ayuda para ese encuentro, para esa conexión y sobre todo de disfrutar de alguna manera con la naturaleza, en apoyar a la micromovilidad y sobre todo organizar también al sector de la sociedad civil. Entonces, esto se vino trabajando e impulsando porque a su vez ayuda también a conectar y lograr que los gobiernos locales tengan de alguna manera una conexión y un compromiso para que puedan invertir en infraestructura y también invertir en el presupuesto y de esta manera lograr que a través de esta incidencia se pueda replicar y se pueda avanzar en este proyecto, ¿verdad? Y bueno, a partir también de la instalación de estas bicisendas se genera una transformación urbana interesante porque cambia totalmente la vida de la ciudad, ¿verdad? La vida, la visión que nosotros tenemos de ciudad, que muchas veces, tanto en Paraguay como América Latina, se construye mucho a escala de autos, de coche y no a escala humana, no a escala de personas que utilizamos de repente medios alternativos de transporte. Entonces, en ese sentido, ayuda bastante como para que la imagen de la ciudad pueda ir cambiando. Pero esto también a su vez tienen retos muy grandes y retos muy importantes porque se trabaja en dos niveles, ¿verdad? El primer nivel que es el nivel con la ciudadanía, porque al construirse la ciudad pensando en automóviles prácticamente incorporar nuevos medios y medios alternativos de movilidad es como descompagina un poco la visión tradicional que tiene la gente. Entonces, los retos pasan por ahí en primer lugar, ¿verdad? Y en segundo lugar es el empoderamiento como políticas públicas de los gobiernos locales, ¿verdad? En este caso, de las municipalidades, parte del área metropolitana de Asunción. Entonces, esos son los dos retos muy grandes que se tiene. Y desde la sociedad civil lo que hacemos es incidir, ¿verdad? Incidir en haciendo lobbies con ellos, explicando el proyecto, explicando los beneficios y sobre todo usufructuando, ¿verdad? Nosotros en Paraguay también hacemos la masa crítica el último como era el último sábado de cada mes y con los diferentes grupos urbanos también vamos ocupando esos espacios para lograr esa sensibilización y sobre todo ese empoderamiento para que se pueda democratizar los espacios públicos. Bueno, muchísimas gracias por la invitación, gracias por la iniciativa y bueno, estos procesos y estos espacios también como sociedad civil nos retroalimentan. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias a vos, Alcides, y también por estar dentro del tiempo y compartir esta iniciativa ciudadana de ciclistas. Paso ahora a nuestra segunda panelista, que también veo online, recién chequeé. Tengo el gusto de presentar a Verónica Ocaña Domínguez. Ella es secretaria general de la Asociación Guerrera Fénix de Humán, vive en Humán, Yucatán, en México. Su experiencia de trabajo data de más de 9 años como mototaxista y hace 4 años que formó esta asociación. Bienvenida, Verónica, y gracias. Y también, brevemente, en el modo que lo hizo Alcides, si por favor nos podés hacer saber de qué se trata tu iniciativa y qué te motivó a llevarla adelante, por qué las mujeres y qué implicaciones en particular tiene para ellas este sistema de cooperativa. Y si pudieras indicar un principal desafío que te encontraste al inicio de la iniciativa y cómo pudieron superarlo. También, en todo caso, te recordaré para ir haciendo una conclusión cuando falte un minuto, de ser necesario. Gracias.
Buenos días a todos, o buenas tardes, o buenas noches, dependiendo del horario. Es un honor para mí estar hoy y compartir mi experiencia y lo que me ha llevado a formar y a conformar la asociación civil que tenemos de mujeres. Pues el mayor desafío que tuve, creo que ser mujer mototaxista, es un trabajo para hombres. Era como la clave para superarlo. Fue muy importante innovar, empoderar a las mujeres, capacitar y hacer saber que tenemos la capacidad del trabajo y hacer de lo mismo la conversión del primer mototaxi eléctrico, de gasolina eléctrico, fue como que el reto más grande para nosotros las mujeres, ya que no teníamos ninguna capacidad ni estábamos preparadas para hacer esa transformación, pero fue el primer punto el que iniciamos. Y la iniciativa de conservar este servicio de transporte fue muy importante porque el medio ambiente cada vez está más contaminado. Entonces, fue hacer el cambio y la modificación para renovar. Y mi iniciativa hacia las mujeres ha sido la necesidad del trabajo, porque somos madres, hijas, abuelas, en un entorno muy duro para lo que es el trabajo y descuidamos mucho lo que es nuestros hijos. En un mundo que cada vez la mujer debe de prepararse más, innovar y sacar adelante este proyecto. También es muy importante trabajar de la mano del gobierno, porque sin el apoyo del gobierno, o en este caso le agradezco mucho al PNUD que nos diera la oportunidad por primera vez de poder demostrar la capacidad que tenemos y hacer la conversión que se hizo de la moto. Fue una experiencia increíble para mí, como madre, como abuela, y para las nuevas generaciones que creo que tenemos la necesidad del trabajo. Aparte de todo esto, nosotros hacemos una labor altruista, que es hacer conciencia a la misma gente y de la mano de nosotros como mototaxistas, que cada día nosotros podemos hacer no nada más lo que es el mototaxiar, sino también implementar para dar capacitaciones sobre la superación de la mujer, más que nada sobre el valor y la fortaleza que nosotros tenemos como mujer. Y lo más importante, en la sociedad, demostrar que tenemos la capacidad de llevar cualquier proyecto o que cualquier sueño o cosas que tengamos que hacer, podemos hacerlo. No es precisamente que el trabajo sea para hombre, no tengamos nosotros la capacidad o no podamos hacerlo. Eso ha sido, creo que, uno de los retos más grandes que he encontrado, porque te encuentras con compañeros que, pues, al ser mototaxistas, es como que vas a saber de mecánica, es como que vas a saber de cambiar lo que es una llanta, de cambiar lo que son los frenos. Contamos con compañeras que se prepararon para poder hacer y apoyarnos en ese cambio. Y sobre el medio ambiente es más que nada, mira, nosotros hacer la conversión de la moto, lo que nosotros tiramos mensualmente de aceite y de desechos, que afectan al medio ambiente es increíble. O sea, nada más por moto son 2 litros de aceite mensual. Imagínate, somos más de 5,000 mototaxistas aquí en Humán, Yucatán. Así que mensual, ¿cuánto daño no le hacemos al planeta? Entonces, hacer la conversión, para empezar, es ¿cómo te digo? Es una transición y en aportación económica para nosotros el 90%, ya que nosotros tenemos un gasto anual entre aceites, bujías, mecánico y todo lo que se le hace el cambio, más de 90,000 anual. Cuando se hace la conversión, ahorita que se logró hacer la conversión y se hace cuenta de lo que nosotros vamos a retribuir, te estoy hablando de un 100%, nos queda a nosotros un 90%. Imagínate el apoyo en la familia, como madres, nosotros lo que podemos aportar para el estudio y la preparación de nuestros hijos. Y
Muy bien. Sí, termina. Ya te queda, está llegando al final, un minutito, gracias.
Para mí es darle las gracias, por primera vez estar con ustedes en esta conferencia, para mí es muy importante. También al PNUD, gracias al PNUD, porque por primera vez volteé a ver del lado de las motos. Y pues ojalá y esto de la mano de toda esta gente que apoya para que se vaya haciendo lo del medio ambiente, pues nos siga apoyando también para seguir haciendo no nada más la primera conversión, sino muchas conversiones.
Muchas gracias, Verónica, por tus palabras y compartir esta experiencia de trabajo, que como bien decías, era de innovación para empoderar a las mujeres, incluso en distintos aspectos, pero incluyendo el económico y en un trabajo fuertemente masculinizado, como vos decías, ¿no? Ayudándolas a sacar adelante esta iniciativa, probando que tienen las habilidades necesarias y siempre considerando y conciliando eso con la enorme cantidad de tareas de cuidado que tienen a su cargo, ¿no? Voy a pasar ahora al inglés para dirigirme a nuestro último panelista, Ronnie. I will now switch to English. And welcome, Ronnie, and thanks. I also see that you are online. Ronnie Baisa is the Executive Director and co-founder of Zimbabwe Sunshine Group, a youth-oriented environmental sustainability organization. Ronnie has over 12 years of experience working in the environmental sustainability sector, especially focusing on sustainable waste management and climate change mitigation and adaptation. He is currently the focal point for Zimbabwe of the GEF CSO network, an independent global alliance of civil society organizations working to address global environmental challenges in areas linked to the 6 GEF focal areas. The network dates back to 1995. Ronnie, I kindly pose to you the 3 following questions to address them in 5 minutes, please. Why, as a civil society organization and you personally, were motivated to take action, and why is that important? How do you engage with local communities, policymakers, and other stakeholders? And what are the main results that you have achieved to date? I will also let you know when you have 1 minute left. Thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you very much. So, like you said, my name is Ronnie Baisa, the Executive Director of Zimbabwe Sunshine Group and the GEF CSOs network focal point for Zimbabwe. I will dive straight into my talking points. So what really motivated us as young people to venture into the work that we're doing, especially on urban waste management projects, is basically the idea of trying to make sure that our cities and towns, they are clean, smart, and they are conducive for human beings to live in. So we have developed a model based on the practice that we have seen happening in other countries. And those practices, we then realize that we can replicate them using simple technologies and simple strategies. Our program is centered around issues to do with how best can it be the diversity of the project. Number two, the critical mass. How can the critical mass benefit from our project? Number three is the strong social capital that is realized in our programming, especially on our waste management program. Then you would also realize that for that project to be very successful, you then need to calculate or interrogate the outcomes. So I think on my presentation, you can see that picture. That picture speaks a lot of words to us. Why? Because this is the vision that we had. So I bumped into this picture on internet. Then I said, this is exactly the idea that we had when we started our organization, when we thought of idea of adopting one of our very famous streets and trying to turn it into a green street. So this picture reflected exactly what we wanted to do. But maybe on the next slide, you then realize how we then started implementing our project as civic society. After we received a grant from a GEF Small Grants Program, we then developed a waste management integrated system that we started implementing, which has got three components that are very massive. The first component was waste for recycling, where we've introduced fabricated three-wheeler motorbikes that are electric, that goes around in our communities where big trucks from city councils or local authorities cannot maneuver and go and collect waste. So that was our first intervention. Then our second intervention, there was a lot of women who used to carry big bags of recyclable materials on top of their heads. We said, what is it that we can do through this support that is coming from GEF? We then introduced some push carts, portable push carts for women, so that they carry the materials to the recycling facility, so that the issue of improving the amount of waste that is going for recycling can increase, and it is indeed increased. Then the second intervention was on waste to energy. We then started to collect biodegradable materials and started doing composting at a local level. So you then realize that we distributed bins, some small bins in households. So using our Bukashi system, then those bins are collected after every 7 days. And after 7 days, the materials would have actually started the processing of decomposing. So when you collect those materials and dump them or put them on our composting facility, it will take only about other 7 days for the materials to decompose. Then we have our manure. From our manure, we have three components that we then harvest. The first one, which is our liquid soil enhancer. The second one, which is our solid soil enhancer. Then the third one, we then harvest fly maggots that we then sell to people who do chickens for stock feeds. Then the last and final is the last and final is our waste to energy, where we do biocarbonated charcoal using waste as well, biodegradable waste. So we then sell that materials to the community. So what is the impact in our work that we do that is being supported by GEF? Number one, we realize that in every dollar that we are using for the project, it attracts a scaling up of about $12 investment. This is evidenced by a project that we have actually now started, which is about a $3 million project, after we only received $50,000 from GEF. So that's a massive investment that has been attracted by GEF funding. From GEF funding, we managed to mechanize our demonstration site, as you can see on the picture, where we have some senders. Now those senders, they are mechanized. They now have a shredding machine. They now have some washers where we wash our recyclable materials. And also for the past 2 years that we've been running the GEF project, we've managed to do about 24 cleanup campaigns in that one community that we are operating from. Then we have diverted more than 80 tons of recyclable materials, which is equivalent to about 16,000 US dollars in monetary value. Then we have also, from the same project, we then realized that there were a lot of plastics, that especially plastic bags, laying idle in our communities. And there was increase of usage of single-use plastics. We then came up with a project of coming up with a sewing project where women are now doing some sewing of carrier bags, which are made out of fabrics. And those carrier bags, from the 5 months that we've just been distributing those carrier bags, we have realized that we have actually avoided about 12,000 plastic bags, which was supposed to be in our environment. Then we go to another component that was supported by GEF, which is a solar system. All our machines at our waste transfer facilities, they are now being run using solar powered energy, which is a plus, which is actually going green in our work that we are doing. We also have about 240 key populations who are under our income safety net project. Our income safety net program is a very simple program where we are saying that women and young people, and also people who are living with disability, get to work only for 2 hours a day, 3 times a week, and then they get a minimum that is just the same as other people are getting from the industry. So they are really enjoying and excited about our income safety project, net project that is happening in our community. Then 15 organizations have benefited from our shared resource program, our bending machines, our crushers. We invite other surrounding community CSOs who are in the same waste management program that we are doing to also come and use those machines in value additioning of their different materials that they recover for recycling. Then we've also
Ronnie, sorry to interrupt you, but if you can start wrapping up in a minute, thank you.
So we've also started doing some training where we have trained more than 20, where we have conducted more than 20 trainings in our community. Our lobby strategy is to influence policy through impact demonstration, through evidence and oral results-based approach. So that's what we are doing as Zimbabwe Sunshine Group. And that's what we are doing as CSOs around Africa. And I'm excited that everything that we are doing are also being replicated in other countries across Africa with other CSOs. I thank you.
I thank you, Ronnie. Thank you so much. And there's a nice picture of your colleagues from the CSO network.
Yes.
At the GEF. Thank you so much. And also thank you for addressing such a critical issue in cities as waste management, including single-use plastic, and in such an integral manner like you do it. I was checking if we had some comments or questions. We do have words of thanks and congratulations for our panelists on their works and initiatives, but not necessarily concrete questions on their initiatives. Maybe what I will do is to pose in closing one final question for our panelists, and in the meantime, if we manage to have a concrete question for any of them on their initiative, please do. But in a minute, I would like to ask one more question to our panelists. I will first do it in English, so Ronnie can hear me, and then I will switch to Spanish. And we will start with Alcides, Veronica, and then Ronnie. If you had to choose one key priority for the immediate future of your work, of your initiative, what would that be, and why? Very briefly, to highlight a key priority for the immediate future that you have. Entonces, I switch to Spanish. Alcides, Verónica, si tuvieran que elegir una prioridad clave para el futuro inmediato de vuestra iniciativa, ¿cuál sería y por qué? En un minuto. Y empezamos por Alcides, Verónica y luego Ronnie, pero les iré llamando. Alcides, adelante.
Gracias, Ana. Mira, y ahora la prioridad número uno es lograr que esta red se pueda consolidar, se pueda mejorar y sobre todo que los gobiernos locales finalmente se pueda empoderar en a modo que especialmente la red de bicicenda sea mantenida y sea una política pública que se incorpore con presupuesto en todos los municipios. Esa sería así como la prioridad y la incidencia, por supuesto, desde la sociedad civil para que esto sea realidad. Gracias.
Gracias, Alcides. Y sí que coincido también aquí en mi país es importante iniciativas y presupuesto, porque la voluntad política se muestra también con presupuesto para sostenerlas y con prioridad para los grupos locales, para aquellos que suelen ser más postergados, ¿no?, en apoyo económico. Verónica, adelante.
Pues la prioridad creo que es exactamente tener la economía para hacer el cambio, porque no es la solución comprar unidades eléctricas, sino hacer la reutilización de las máquinas que ya tenemos y hacer la conversión en eléctricas. Ese sería.
Muchas gracias, Verónica. And then Ronnie, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I think one thing that we would also want to see is a model where we have sustainable cities initiatives that can also be replicated across because issues of sustainable city have been lagging behind. So this is what we would also actually want to see. I thank you.
I thank you. And I do see a question for you, Ronnie, if you can address it super briefly, so then I give the floor back to our colleague from the GEF Secretariat, Gabriela. They ask you if you replicated the technology to other areas, if you can briefly refer to that, and you can share more information with the colleague in the chat. Thanks.
Yes, the project has been replicated in Zambia and also Eswatini. We have also another one that is also starting in Malawi. So the model is very simple and we can share with anyone who wants the model. Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias, Alcides, Verónica. Thank you, Ronnie, for your time and hard work, and thanks for sharing your initiatives. We are aware that we have very limited time, so please reach out to our panelists if you want to find out more about their initiatives. I'm afraid we run out of time. And I thank you all very much for your time, not only our panelists, but all attendees. Thank you all for your commitment and interest with sustainable urban development that can work both for people and the planet. Enhancing civil society engagement is key on the road towards sustainable cities. I am certain that the experiences shared today and insights from our panelists and attendees will contribute to leading the GEF towards greater right holders and stakeholders engagement, building on past GEF consultations with civil society organizations. And thanks to the GEF once again for this effort and opportunity today. I now return the floor to Gabriela from the GEF Secretariat to take us to the next session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna, for this really great session and panel discussion. I think we all have learned a lot, and thank you especially to Alcides, Veronica, and Ronnie for really sharing your experiences and with everyone. And please, if anyone has any questions to either of Alcides, Veronica, or Ronnie, please use the chat to see if you can get more information. And we know that we're always strapped on time. There are so many great speakers and innovations and ideas out there, so it's really hard to give opportunities for everyone to speak, and then also the space and time to have questions. But please use the chat. So again, thank you everyone for this great session. Let's now move to session 3. We have 2 more sessions, or maybe even 3. So we're going to go and have some reflections from our GEF program partners on their efforts to engage civil society to support sustainable cities. And then we're going to move to have some reflections from the CSO network and the Secretariat, really on pulling out some lessons learned from all of the conversations that we have had. But with that, let me then go and introduce the 2 next speakers. Is Ellie Ancelotti. She is the communication lead at the Urban Shift at WRI, the World Resources Institute, which is a partner of the GEF Sustainable Cities program. And following that, we will hear from Angelica Chamarina. She is the acting global manager for the GEF Small Grants program in UNDP, and you have heard many of the SGP grantees here today, so it would be great to hear a little bit more from her. But with that, can I see if Ellie is there?
Hi.
There you are. Yes,
Hi.
thank you for joining. Good to see you.
Of course.
And I know,
too.
and I know that you have a presentation, and the presentation is coming now. So thank you.
Thanks. All right. Hi, everyone. Hopefully you all can hear me. Thank you for that introduction. Just to recap, my name is Ailey Ancelotti. I lead communications for Urban Shift, and I am based in the WRI Ross Center for Sustainable Cities. I'm so honored to be here on behalf of Urban Shift. You can move to the next slide, please. And I know that we're short on time, so I will try to go through this pretty quickly. But in case you don't know, Urban Shift is the name for the GEF 7 Sustainable Cities Impact Program, which is a partnership between the UN Environment Program, World Resources Institute, C40 Cities, and ICLE. We work in over 50 cities across 17 countries to advance integrated and sustainable approaches to urban planning and development. We do this in 2 different ways. One is through local projects. Through on-the-ground investments in participating cities, we engage directly with local officials, urban practitioners, and national governments to plan and implement innovative cross-cutting solutions that address multiple urban issues, from sustainable transport to green infrastructure. And the other is our global platform. To complement our local projects, Urban Shift offers a suite of capacity strengthening activities that connect cities with global expertise and cutting-edge research, and offers them an opportunity to enhance their strategic urban planning skills, engage with the private sector, and exchange best practices with their peers. We can move on to the next slide. So across all that Urban Shift and WRI do, engagement with civil society organizations and community-based organizations is absolutely essential. We rely really heavily on partners who complement our perspective and expand our reach. These partners consist of individuals, organizations, multilateral institutions, and governments who together are essential to drive the transitions that we need. We often think about our work at Urban Shift as creating an enabling framework for best practices to take root in cities. But how do we fill this framework, and who actually carries out the work to translate these best practices, concepts to reality? The answer is often civil society organizations. So through our activities, we aim to elevate the expertise of CSOs across the field of integrated urban planning and within the cities where we work. First of all, collaboration with CSOs is absolutely core to how Urban Shift functions. We have a wide-ranging partnership engagement group that includes organizations like the International Union for Conservation of Nature, the World Economic Forum, World Wildlife Fund, and Global Covenant of Mayors for Energy and Climate, alongside the core Urban Shift partnership organizations that I mentioned before. This partnership engagement group helps shape the implementation of our work and contributes directly to our activities to strengthen the delivery of the program's outputs. This includes everything from our training activities to our advocacy work to raise the profile of efforts like mitigating plastic pollution and financing nature-based solutions. CSOs are also vital to bringing Urban Shift projects in cities to life. Earlier, it was so amazing to hear from Maribel Gomez, who we got to meet actually just this past July when we were in Costa Rica for a capacity building event. Her organization, as she mentioned, is doing just absolutely incredible work, revitalizing and caring for this urban space, which is part of the GEF's wide-ranging effort in the Costa Rica capital region, and Urban Shift is a partner in that. So it was just incredible to actually see that in action, and that is really what urban transformation looks like, is that work on the ground. So we can move to the next slide. I also want to zoom out a little bit and offer the perspective of WRI as an organization and how we work with CSOs. And again, it's absolutely essential. So that work takes on a number of different forms, but one key way that we collaborate with CSOs at WRI is by empowering them with data, resources, and technical support. So as an example, WRI has a program, Global Forest Watch. You may be familiar with it. It's the data-driven forest monitoring initiative. And that program has a small grants fund and tech fellowship that supports civil society organizations and individuals around the world to use Global Forest Watch in their advocacy research and fieldwork. So you can see on the screen the range of organizations that through this program are using Global Forest Watch to monitor large-scale land use projects, enforce community land rights, defend critical habitats, and influence forest policy. And through WRA Africa, our Terra Fund for AFR 100 program just granted 94 CSOs and community-based organizations and small businesses funding to support land restorations efforts in Africa. Next slide. So going to start wrapping up now. So as I do so, I want to leave you with a few resources that you can take with you to experience the importance of Urban Shift's collaboration with CSOs yourselves. One of those resources is our online City Academy course offering. Recently, to complement the trainings that we host for representatives from Urban Shift cities in person, we introduced the Online City Academy, which is a suite of 8 free self-paced online courses structured around Urban Shift's 8 focus areas, from urban biodiversity to accommodating urban growth. And you can see those on the screen. There's also a QR code. If you are able to scan it, that will take you to the website where these courses are hosted. These courses were designed in collaboration with experts from our partnership engagement group and other leaders in the field of integrated and sustainable urban planning. And they offer in-depth training on these critical considerations for cities. Next slide, please. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit with you about Urban Shift today. I could keep talking. There's so much incredible work that's happening across the network of cities with the support of the GEF. And it's just really incredible to be able to share that and be upfront with it. But if you are interested in learning more, because I can't get to everything, there is a QR code on the screen that links to our annual report here. If you would like to learn more, I really encourage you to download that and read through, and you can always reach out to me with any questions. Thank you. And I'll turn it back over to Gabriela.
Thank you so much, Ellie, for really sharing how the Urbanship program is working and collaborating with civil society. This was super informative, so thank you very much. And because we're a little limited on time, let me move quickly over to Angelica Chamarina, who is the acting global manager at UNDP for the GEF Small Grants program. As you heard from Claude and from many of the grantees today, the GEF Small Grants program is a long-standing corporate program of the GEF that provides dedicated financing, technical assistance to local communities and civil society worldwide. So over to you, Angelica. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone here well. Here's the presentation. I will be very, very brief. You've heard already from our grantee partners, which is the most important. You heard the practical examples. I just wanted to summarize a little bit to show that we can move to the next slide. What is about our approach as a program and something that was illustrated today in the presentation of our grantees. So first of all, our approach is integrated. Urban communities, just like any communities, do not divide between climate and environment and land degradation. Of course, we have these important areas, conventions supported by the GEF, but in reality, for the partners, it is all connected. So integrated approach, as we call it, cross-cutting, basically through different focal areas, and usually one project involves solar energy, such as some of the examples that are in this presentation, our publication, solar energy and waste and urban gardens, something addressing different community needs. And the other important, very important consideration is participation of the vulnerable groups. This social impacts, it's as important in a way in our SGP concept as global environmental benefits, because without the whole society approach, these benefits cannot be sustained. And a third important part is economic activities. We talk about renewable energy links to productive activities, but it's not just renewable energy. Biodiversity conservation, everything needs to be linked to services, to productive activities. Otherwise, how would they be sustained? How would these benefits be sustained? We cannot exclude people from using biodiversity. We have to provide income for the communities to pay for renewable energy and so on. So as you would see from the excellent presentations that we had, we focused on services provided by the communities. And of course, communities are in the center of everything we do in civil society, as we are a dedicated program focused on that. Variety of examples, variety of activities. Now, I would like you to encourage to read our publication, which we prepared for, well, not for specifically for this consultation, however, to contribute to this consultation, to show the examples. So 2 of them were presented here, but we have many more examples of how we engaged youth, helped to the CSO partners to engage youth, for example, in a sustainable transportation program, how we helped to improve energy access and access to drinking water and sanitation with waste management to disadvantaged communities in Argentina, how we've heard from our partners in Mexico, a women-led project, and urban gardens in Zimbabwe, and many others. All of these examples are in this brochure, and we have many more, and would like to invite our partners that we're presenting here, ICLEI, WRI. We are already collaborating in the ground, collaborate more. And this is just a publication that I encouraged you to look at. There is a QR code, and just being very brief, but of course, happy to answer any questions. Over.
So, thank you so much, Angelica, for really highlighting how the SGP program is is supporting and as increasingly supporting efforts in the city space. And we all know that as it started in the beginning, it was very much focused in the rural spaces, and how it's now is really prioritizing
urbanization is increasing,
yes,
right? So
exactly.
we need
So
to
you're
support
moving forward,
communities, right?
Yeah.
We need to support communities where they are, and I think it's the same space. If you look at some countries, there is no clear definition of urban, especially SEEDs in many other countries, urban versus rural space. So we support everywhere.
Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you, Ili, as well, for sharing what we're doing in the Urban Shift program. So these are just two examples of what we're doing with our partners around the globe, supporting civil society engagement in cities. So with that, I will move us forward to really trying to bring together what we've heard here today, get the reflections, trying to distill some ideas and suggestions moving forward. And I'm very pleased in this session to introduce and to have Faisal Parish, who is the director of the Global Environmental Center in Malaysia. He is also the chair of the GEF CSO network to reflect on behalf of the network on efforts and the need and priorities in terms of supporting civil society in urban spaces. And then very happy to have my colleague, Alok Barnwal, who is leading the GEF Sustainable Cities program at the GEF Secretariat. He also works on adaptation and is our senior climate change specialist. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing their reflections. So Faisal, over to you first. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gabriela. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Happy World Wetlands Day. The theme for this year is wetlands and human well-being. So let's restore urban wetlands to enhance environment and human well-being. The GEF CSO network brings together more than 500 organizations around the world, many of whom are working on building sustainable, resilient, and inclusive cities. As you've heard from Ronnie and Ram, who are members of our network, they're doing transformative work. I think as many of people have said today, we're looking towards 2050 with more than 70% of the world population in cities, and cities being responsible for a major proportion of environmental degradation. So it's critical that GEF does increase its focus on cities, but we believe it needs to take a more people-centric approach to its work. As we know, GEF is focused on a broad range of global environment issues and benefits, but many of the previous approaches in the past of GEF in cities have focused more limited scope, particularly related to climate change mitigation, and also focusing primarily on hardware, such as public transport, renewable energy, energy efficient building and processes. However, if we're going to be successful in transforming cities and achieving net zero targets and transforming consumption patterns, we must focus more on the software through mobilizing mass behavior change and transformation of attitudes of the entire population of cities to a more sustainable and resilient approach. This cannot be achieved just by top-down or supply-side approaches, for example, with more regulation or new technology. Transformation needs a bottom-up or a heart approach by building interest and passion of people to change behavior and demand changes in society and cities. CSOs can be effective agents of change to bring about this transformation. If humans are at the center of development and good governance is critical to sustaining democratic systems, then the way society organizes itself to collectively address its needs is key to the attainment and maintenance of just and sustainable societies. Acknowledging this, the role of civil society organizations in facilitating transition to sustainable urban spaces needs to be reimagined, moving from what in the past has been a perceived role of support, creating awareness, to a co-equal role in defining, designing, and engaging in urban development and transformation. Civil society must be recognized and embraced as an energizing and mobilizing force in urban development and transformation. CSOs can play a critical role in creating people-centered process in urban settings, such as expanding partnerships for service delivery. CSOs in the past have traditionally provided a range of social services to communities, but this can be expanded to provide service to public and private sector, co-management of ecological systems, development and management of social infrastructure. Partnerships can also be developed to support circular economy, as we've heard in examples, and blue economy or green economy initiatives. Another key area is improving governance. Public policy development and delivery is increasingly responsible for the growing role of civil society and its role as service provider and social justice advocate, as well as its role in economic development. We need to move from just consultation to a real participatory decision-making role of civil society and public. The United Nations has adopted the Social and Solidarity Economic Framework as implementation pathway for Sustainable Development Goals. That approach creates the opportunity for resourcing and mobilizing workers and community collectives for community economic development. So we've heard in the two panel sessions many key ideas and experience from civil society, from projects. And one of the key entry points, for example, in the session one, was highlighting using serious problems, whether it's landslides, water shortage, waste, or mercury poisoning, to try to stimulate engagement and transform the situation. And we saw, for example, in Nepal, how the mercury was eliminated from the health sector through the lobbying of civil society. So drawing on the presentation that have been made today in the session, and also our many years of experience over the last 30 or more years, we have 8 key points that we want to highlight to GEF, as GEF is in the process to develop the Sustainable Cities Integrated Program, which is aiming to advance integrated and systems-based approaches to cities. So our 8 key points are, first, as reiterated by others, GEF must take a whole of society approach, an integrated, holistic, and cross-sector approach, engaging and mobilizing all parts of society to transform cities to be drivers of sustainability. This can only be achieved by more active and directly engaging civil society and people's movements, and by taking a holistic approach to support transformation to meet collective targets. Secondly, GEF must support the development of public-civic partnerships for environmental change and sustainability, as opposed to earlier often focus on the popular public-private partnership concept, but which has left civil society and community out of it. This needs to facilitate engagement between city and local governments with civil society organizations and residents in supporting new sustainable city initiatives. Thirdly, GEF should support or inspire community-led green cities, like the example of the Freetown convert to Tree Town, by bringing trees, wetlands, and biodiversity back to the city environment, disrupting the heat island effect, improving mental and physical health, supporting mitigation adaptation to climate change. Fourthly, management of water is critical to the survival of people in cities. GEF should promote the adoption of the sponge city or water city model through the protection and restoration of catchments, rivers, water bodies, and other wetlands, so cities can become more resilient to floods. Rainwater is stored for human and ecosystem use. Water resources must be used more efficiently, and wastewater must be reduced and 100% recycled or clean, for example, through urban constructed wetland systems. Fifth, women and youth must be empowered as change makers. And as we heard from cyclists and the motorcycle taxis in Mexico and Paraguay, these change makers can transform the urban economy to a circular economy, as we saw in the waste examples, with reduced consumption, repurposing or recycling of all waste products, with the support of innovative incentives and access to grants or revolving funds and scale-up finance or credit for environmentally positive enterprises. We heard the scale-up example from Ronnie in Zimbabwe and how it's been replicated elsewhere in the region. Sixth, GEF must place focus on rural revitalization in the zones around the cities to protect remaining forest and wetlands, restore degraded landscapes, and enhance the rural productivity to increase quality and standard of living of rural communities and make them stewards and restorers of biodiversity and carbon positive landscape, and reduce rural to urban migration, and also improve water catchments, as we saw in the example of Solomon's. Seventh, GEF should incorporate communities and civil society into its proposed GEF Global Knowledge Creation Platform. That's in the GEF 8 platform, and also link with the GEF 7 platform, which was explained on the Urban Shift platform, to build, as well as integrating urban sustainable solutions at target cities and establish learning communities and peer-to-peer learning programs. The knowledge fairs and shared resource model in Zimbabwe is also a good example that we've heard today. Finally, number 8, GEF must establish participatory implementation and monitoring mechanisms for all projects under the integrated program, as well as other city-related projects in the GEF portfolio, to ensure a balance of top-down and bottom-up approaches. Civil society organizations and youth should actively participate as part of or alongside project teams. This shared responsibility can lead to more effective implementation and assessment and reporting on the project's impact. Finally, just want to quote from one of our participants, Zana Vokopola from the Urban Research Institute, commented a few minutes ago in the chat group. CSOs must be given a bigger role by the GEF. We can implement projects with better results and less costs. And in the corrupted system that we find in many of our countries, we offer more transparency and credibility. And finally, coming back to Claude's comments in the opening, countries are more than governments. GEF won't be successful if it does not engage civil society organizations. But currently, within GEF implementation, other than the small grants program, it's very hard for civil society organizations to access GEF resources, whether that's medium-sized or full-size project resources. And over time, the percentage of resources flowing directly to civil society has been declining in GEF. So we need to turn that around. If we're going to really have a vibrant cities program under GEF, we must engage civil society. And the GEF CSO network and our member organizations are very happy to work with the GEF Secretariat, GEF agencies, and recipient countries to advance these issues over the coming years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Faisal, for really distilling the ideas on these 8 recommendations and suggestions. I think it really highlights what we are pushing forward in GEF 8 and moving forward in GEF 9, really the whole society approach. And you also come up with some really good and detailed recommendations that I cannot think that there would be anyone that is better to respond to some of these than Alok, that is really leading our cities program. So I'm going to actually hand over to him, and we of course look forward to discussing more with the CSO network on some of the good suggestions that you put forward here. I think that there is nothing that we don't agree that we need to do more in this area. So thank you for those. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Alok, and I just going to, before I hand over to Alok, just to let you know that it seems that the council member from Senegal that we had hoped to join us, he will not be able to join us. We don't see him online. So with Alok's closing remarks, we'll let it to be closing remarks. And I am cognizant that we are 10 minutes over time. but I think it's important to spend the time to sort of distill the lessons learned and not just rush to close the meeting. So I hope that you all can stay for another 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you very much. Alok, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Gabriela. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Alok.
great. Yeah, so thank you so much. And let me start by thanking Faisal for really providing a very clear, targeted, advice and guidance and feedback on how we could strengthen our engagement and partnership with CSOs in the urban space, where we are investing significantly over last 10 years, given the trend that we are seeing that people are now moving more towards cities. Let me again thank all the speakers, presenters for providing such a rich information. The discussions reinforces multiple things. First, the immense opportunities in cities to innovate and utilize power of people's engagement for transformative local sustainability solutions. Second, the critical role civil society organizations are playing on a range of topics. Today we heard topics across the sectors, which are all relevant in the city's urban space. And the critical role in ensuring a delicate balance between economic development and nature conservation and climate in and around cities. And that is something that I think is really important to acknowledge, because that relationship between human nature and environment is very well understood by people, by the institutions which represent people, and which is the civil society organizations. It was also great to hear directly from many of our partners at the program level, as well as at the cities level, as the countries level, from CSOs, that the Sustainable Cities Program, the Least Developed Countries Fund, which is our adaptation fund, and the Small Grants Program are creating an enabling environment for CSOs and creating opportunities to innovate and collaborate with city governments, national governments, and implementation partners to bring forward their innovative ideas and really make a true impact on ground. Faisal has very well highlighted key takeaways and guidance for us. Let me also try to summarize my takeaways from the discussions, which is in line with what is already shared previously. First, I cannot agree more that the whole of society approach is vital for success of the GEF, and this is why in the GEF 8 strategy, the whole of society approach is central across our programming strategy of all the funds. So this is central, and we are hoping that this approach, which is very well articulated, in our strategies, in our projects, would enable greater and direct engagement of CSOs in meeting our global environmental benefit targets, as well as adaptation benefits. Second, there is a great potential to produce or develop innovative ideas and mechanisms for direct engagement with CSOs in delivering inclusive benefits. We saw a number of approaches today, like through the Sustainable Cities Program. Our GEF agencies are collaborating with CSOs in delivering project components. We heard from Costa Rica, from Paraguay, these are projects led by UNDP. The project from Freetown, this is led by World Bank, one of our GEF agencies. So we are seeing that there is a clear need or demand and opportunity which is being utilized in a way that CSOs are now actually project implementation partners. The Small Grants Program is, of course, a mechanism to engage directly with CSOs. We are also thinking of coming up with creative ideas, like you may remember last year, ahead of the GEF Assembly, we launched this Inclusive Assembly Challenge Program, And I'm glad to say that after once we launched, we got a great response from CSOs, and we selected 23 initiatives from CSOs as winners, who were acknowledged at the assembly, and now will be receiving very small scale grant to scale up their intervention. So we are coming up with these new ideas, riding on the vision that our CEO has to work directly with or to strengthen our engagement with CSOs. Let's come back to cities again. Cities are complex. We clearly heard it. It clearly requires integrated approach and efforts at multiple levels: national, subnational, city, community, and at the multiple levels. And it has diverse challenges across different sectors, and therefore it requires understanding of each city's context and the local situations. It requires interventions across different challenges in a way that are intertwined. And to work in such complex space, it is really vital that we work with CSOs because they bring multiple things. And what I got from today's presentations is they bring passion. We heard from the speaker from Costa Rica how passionate she was in saying how things are changing, why there are why there is opportunity to engage and work with communities. We believe that CSOs also bring championship. We heard from Tommy and other speakers how they are really leading these efforts of transforming cities, the Freetown, Tree Town, agenda. We also heard that the CSOs are also very sensitive in addressing some of the challenges. We heard from Lorenza from Solomon Islands how they are really working on reducing risk and conflicts. And it is really important to address those things. And I believe that CSOs are in the best position to address those things. And then again, important topics like health. It requires very close people connection. And we heard from the speaker Ram from Nepal on how they are really focusing on improving health of citizens by reducing mercury pollution in cities. So we heard range of sectors experience from CSO: urban biodiversity, water, health, transportation, waste management, energy, innovative ideas which are replicable. It's not just small pilots. We heard directly from the speakers. They are saying that yes, it is now being replicated. They are willing to replicate as well. So which shows the potential that that all the solutions which are led by CSOs. Let me conclude on a positive note. Cities are naturally diverse and integrated and provides a great scope for diverse actors to influence its sustainability. The way cities are designed, it functions. They have relatively low barriers to entry for CSOs and for other stakeholders to engage directly with the governments and to advocate and influence policies and influence behavior change in people and communities. So this opportunity is immense, and this is where where the GEF is coming in and aiming to support and unlock the opportunities and reduce these barriers even further, so that civil society organizations can effectively partner with our agencies, with the cities, the mayors, the national government organizations with who we are working to influence them directly and contribute. We have our global platforms, which facilitate city-to-city learnings. We engage civil society organizations, and also we create a lot of knowledge, which is very contextual, which is considering the dynamic situation that cities have, the the transformation that is already happening, and those knowledge I believe will further empower civil society organizations to contribute even more to our goal and vision. So I just conclude by reiterating what our director Claude said, that we remain committed. We are evolving. We are strengthening our engagement. We are looking for opportunities. We are encouraging our partners even more to work with civil society organizations. And I'm confident that in the city space, particularly which I coordinate, I see a great opportunity. And today I was very encouraged and motivated to see the innovation, the great work, and I'm inspired to explore even more opportunities in this program to engage with CSOs further. So thank you again. And this is just a beginning. We will look forward to continue this dialogue in different forums. And thanks again to the speakers for sharing their rich experience today. Thank you so much. Gabriela, back to you.
Yes, and thank you so much, Alok and Faisal, for really bringing it all together for the closing. I don't think I have anything more to add, and I think that what we heard from Faisal, really the good recommendations, and from you, Alok, really that we are this, and I liked what you say, that this all of the great speakers really have inspired us all to do more, and to do more to support civil society engagement in our work in the urban space. So I think that this, like you said, is just the beginning. So with that, and I'm not gonna, I know we're already over time, 9:20 here in DC. I just want to take again to really thank the moderators, and all of the panelists for really taking the time to share your experiences and perspectives. And so I will just end with that. And I wanted to thank also, of course, my the GEF Secretariat team of all of the efforts put into to planning this event, the CSO network for the collaboration. And lastly, but not least, the interpreters that has been busy all through this 2.5 hours. So with that, I want to thank you all and just remind you that this event has been recorded. And if you want to, we should be able to post it on our website shortly, as well as the presentations. And please take use of that if there is something that you want to go back to look into or share with others moving forward. So on behalf of the GEF Secretariat, my colleagues, thank you very much for this great consultations. Thank you, and have a great afternoon or day or evening and weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.